It seems like everywhere you turn these days, it's AI this and AI that.
Yeah, it's the gold rush everyone's talking about.
Exactly. But honestly, sometimes it feels like you need a PhD to even get started.
Well, that's why you're here, right?
That's right. You're smart to be looking at, well, the engine behind all this AI, the AI chips.
That's where the real opportunity often lies, right? The infrastructure.
So true. Like back in the day, everyone was focused on finding the gold.
But the people selling the shovels, they were the real winners.
Right. And for this deep dive, we're taking a look at this Motley Fool article.
Oh, yeah?
It recommends 4 specific AI chip stocks they think are hot right now.
Interesting.
Now, the Motley Fool's been around since 1993.
Wow, that's a while.
They've definitely seen their fair share of market trends. What I found interesting about this article is how it kicks off.
Uh-huh.
They paint this picture of all these tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, even SoftBank with their investment in OpenAI.
All in on AI.
All pouring money into AI infrastructure.
We're talking potentially hundreds of billions of dollars.
Hundreds of billions? That's just, wow, that really gives you a sense of how big this AI wave could be.
Exactly. I mean, that kind of investment, that creates just a massive opportunity. The companies building the chips that power all this AI.
Well, let's jump into the first company on this list.
Okay, let's do it.
Nvidia.
I'm guessing you've heard of them.
Of course. They're kind of the rock stars of the AI chip world right now.
They're dominating the market, that's for sure, for GPUs.
GPUs.
Graphics processing units, those are essential for training AI models, but also for like real-time applications of AI, what they call inference.
Okay, so I get that these GPUs are important, but what's so special about Nvidia? Everyone's making GPUs, right?
Well, Nvidia, their real genius was anticipating how big AI would become.
So they were ahead of the curve.
While they were initially focused on GPUs for gaming, they developed this platform, CUDA, which basically allowed developers to customize their chips for other uses.
So they opened up their technology and said, hey, use our chips for whatever you want.
Well, yeah.
That seems pretty risky.
It was a calculated risk, but it paid off big time.
I bet.
CUDA became the go-to platform for AI development. That's how they captured like 90% of the market share.
90%? Wow. They really did see this coming. The Motley Fool seems pretty impressed with NVIDIA's position. They mentioned things like the forward PE ratio and how that makes the stock look attractive.
Oh, yeah.
I'll admit, though, some of those financial terms, sometimes they just make my head spin.
Oh, it's actually simpler than it sounds.
Really?
The PE ratio, or price-to-earnings ratio, essentially tells you how much you're paying for each dollar of the company's expected future profit.
Okay.
A high PE could mean the stock is overvalued. Low one might mean it's undervalued. The forward PE uses estimated earnings for the next year.
So even though NVIDIA's stock price might seem high now, they think their future earnings potential, it makes it a good deal. Makes sense. All right, well, let's move on to the next company on the list. Broadcom, what are they bringing to the AI party?
Well, Broadcom's taking a bit of a different approach.
How so?
Instead of just selling those general-purpose GPUs like Nvidia, they're actually helping those tech giants build their own custom AI chips.
Really? Custom chips? What's the advantage of that?
Well, these custom chips, called ASICs or application-specific integrated circuits, they're kind of like finely tuned race cars.
Okay.
They're designed for very specific tasks, which makes them potentially more powerful, more efficient than a general-purpose GPU, which is more like, I don't know, a versatile pickup truck.
I like that. I like that analogy. So who are they building these custom chips for?
Well, they've got a pretty impressive client list. Big names like Meta, ByteDance, OpenAI, and even Apple.
Wow, that's a big lineup.
It is.
And I bet that means they're raking in some serious dough.
Yeah. Broadcom actually estimates that their top 3 clients alone could need up to like 1 million AI chips by 2027.
1 million?
We're talking a market worth somewhere between $60 and $90 billion.
That's massive. Even if Nvidia grabs a piece of that, Broadcom is in a fantastic position.
It seems like it, yeah. Now, for our next company, we've got AMD.
AMD?
They're known for both CPUs and GPUs.
Right.
Although, in the GPU space, they are kind of playing catch-up to Nvidia.
Right. So where does AMD shine in the AI landscape?
Well, they've kind of carved out a niche for themselves in AI inference. Which is essentially using a trained AI model to make decisions or predictions in real time. It's what makes things like voice assistance and image recognition possible. But their real strength is in CPUs.
CPUs, the brains of data centers.
Right. And their EPYC CPUs are making waves. They've actually captured over 50% market share among what they call hyperscalers.
Hyperscalers.
Companies with those massive data centers, Google and Amazon.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's a huge win for AMD. 50% market share, especially against big players like Intel, that's no small feat.
No, it's not.
It sounds like they're not putting all their eggs in the AI basket, though. They're still doing well in the PC market, right?
Yeah, they're not betting on just one horse. It gives them a little bit of stability, flexibility.
Right, they're more diversified.
So with strong performance in CPUs and GPUs, They're a force to be reckoned with in the tech world.
Okay, on to the last company on our list for today, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, or TSMC.
TSMC, yes.
They're a bit different from the others, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not actually designing the AI chips themselves.
No, not really. TSMC is the company actually manufacturing the chips.
Huh.
All these big players. Think of them like the master craftspeople of the chip world. They're the ones with the expertise and the facilities to build these incredibly complex components.
So they're essentially holding the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Everyone needs them.
Chip manufacturing, it's just incredibly complex, specialized process. It requires massive investment, cutting-edge technology, and years of experience.
It's not for the faint of heart.
TSMC has all of that. And their competitors, giants like Intel and Samsung, they're struggling to keep up.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, why is it so difficult for others to do what TSMC does?
Well, it's a long story.
Fair enough. So are they just sitting back, relaxing, or are they trying to grow even further?
Oh, no, they are definitely not slowing down. They've actually been raising prices due to, high demand.
I bet.
And they're expanding rapidly new facilities in Arizona and Japan.
Wow.
Even have plans for a plant in Germany.
That's some serious global domination.
It is.
So we've got these 4 players, each with their own unique approach to the AI chip market.
It's true.
Nvidia dominating general-purpose GPUs.
Right.
Broadcom, they're focusing on the custom ASICs.
Uh-huh.
AMD, hitting both CPUs and GPUs.
Yep.
And then TSMC, the silent giant, manufacturing the chips for, everywhere.
Great summary. It's important to remember that all of this is driven by just an incredible wave of investment in AI. As we see more and more industries adopting AI, the demand for these chips, it's just going to keep growing.
That's true. It really is an exciting time to be following the AI space. But before we move on to part 2 of this deep dive, I'm curious, of these 4 companies, which one kind of stands out to you the most? Think about their approach, their position in the market, and their potential for growth. We'll be back in just a moment to dig a little deeper into the world of AI chip stocks. It's really amazing to think about how these companies we've been discussing, they all fit into this larger AI revolution.
It really is, yeah.
It's like we've gone from this big picture view of the AI spending frenzy
right.
down to 4 specific companies that the Motley Fool thinks, could really benefit.
I mean, we've seen some interesting approaches, right? Like Nvidia with those general purpose GPUs, Broadcom going custom with the ASICs,
Yep.
AMD hitting both CPUs and GQs.
That's right.
And then TSMC, the company that basically makes it all happen.
Makes the magic happen. It feels like we're watching a major technological shift unfold.
I mean, it's not just a shift, it's a complete, transformation. How technology is being developed and used, and it's across so many industries. I mean, healthcare, finance, manufacturing, AI is touching everything.
And that's why I think understanding these companies is so important. They're providing the building blocks for this entire AI revolution.
Oh, for sure. These chips, I mean, they're the engines driving this revolution. And as we discussed, each company's different strategy. I mean, NVIDIA's CUDA platform, that was brilliant. Gave them a huge lead in, general-purpose GPUs.
But Broadcom is betting big on those custom ASICs. Do you think that's a riskier strategy than NVIDIA's, broader approach?
I mean, it's certainly a different approach, right? ASICs, they can be incredibly powerful, but only for those very specific tasks.
Right.
They don't have the versatility of GPUs. If the demand for a particular type of ASIC, if that dries up, Broadcom could be left holding the bag.
Yeah, so they're really relying on those big clients, like Meta and Google, to keep needing those custom chips.
Exactly. And then there's AMD.
Yeah, AMD, they're not quite as dominant in the GPU space as NVIDIA, but...
Right. But they've carved out a successful niche, it seems, with their focus on both CPUs and GPUs. That's true. I was really impressed to hear that they'd actually surpassed 50% market share. Yeah. With those EPYC CPUs.
Oh, yes.
Among those hyperscalers. I mean, that's a big deal. It really is. They've managed to compete head-to-head with, Intel in such a critical part of the market. And their continued success in the PC market, it gives them a bit of a safety net if things slow down in the data center world.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have, of course, TSMC.
Right, the company behind the curtain making the magic happen.
I mean, their expertise in chip manufacturing, it seems almost impossible to replicate.
Oh, it would be incredibly difficult. Incredibly expensive for another company to reach TSMC's level. I mean, it takes years of experience, billions of dollars in investment, highly skilled workforce. It's a lot.
It is. It sounds like it. But even with their dominance, I mean, these companies must be facing some, potential risks and challenges, right?
Of course. No company is immune to risk, especially in the fast-moving world of technology. One of the biggest, I think, for any company in this space is just competition.
Competition.
I mean, the AI chip market is still relatively young, right? New players are emerging all the time.
That's right. We already mentioned Intel and Samsung. And who knows what other startups are working on some breakthrough in their labs. They can't afford to get complacent.
No, not at all. Another big challenge is just the speed of innovation.
Yeah. What's cutting edge today might be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly. These companies need to constantly be investing in research and development. They've got to stay ahead of the curve.
It's like a constant race to the top.
It is.
What about geopolitical risks?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about TSMC being based in Taiwan, and that just seems like it could be a potential issue given, well, the tensions with China.
It's definitely a risk factor. Any escalation of tensions between Taiwan and China, I mean, that could disrupt TSMC's operations, and that has, ripple effects.
Throughout the entire industry.
Exactly. It's a situation that investors need to keep a close eye on.
For sure, for sure. So it sounds like there are definitely some challenges ahead, but overall, do you think the potential rewards outweigh the risks for the companies?
Well, I mean, the Motley Fool seems to think so.
Right.
And they make some compelling arguments, The AI revolution is still in its early stages. These companies are well positioned to capitalize on, the massive growth that's expected.
That's an important point. I mean, we're still in the early innings of this whole AI game. But before we get too carried away with all the potential profits, I mean, it's important to remember that this is just one perspective, right?
Of course.
I mean, the Motley Fool is a great resource, but it's always wise to do your own research before making any investment decisions.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, investing is not a game of following the herd. You need to consider your own goals, your own risk tolerance, your financial situation.
Before jumping into any stock, no matter how promising it seems.
Exactly.
So don't just jump on the AI bandwagon without doing your due diligence.
No.
All right, so we've explored the companies, we've talked about the tech, the potential profits, but we've also highlighted some of the risks and challenges that they face.
Right.
Now, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive where we kind of step back and consider some of the bigger implications of this whole AI investment boom.
I think that's a great idea. While the financial aspects are fascinating, the impact of AI, I mean, that goes far beyond dollars and cents.
It really does. Stay with us. Things are about to get really interesting. We've talked about the companies, the technology, the money to be made in the AI chip market.
Yeah.
But this whole AI boom, it's about so much more than just profits, right?
It really is. We've focused so much on, the companies supplying the picks and shovels.
For this AI gold rush.
Right. But what about the bigger picture? The wider impact of all this? I mean, what about the ethical and society implications of, pouring so much money into AI?
Yeah, it's like we're at the start of one of those sci-fi movies where like all this incredible power is becoming available, but
Right.
But will it be used for good?
It's the question, isn't it? On the one hand, AI has the potential to solve some of our biggest problems. Disease, climate change.
Poverty, inequality.
Exactly.
And we're already seeing AI used to develop new drugs to personalize education. It feels like the possibilities are pretty much limitless.
They really do.
But I have to admit, sometimes it feels a little unnerving.
I get that. I mean, we have to acknowledge the potential downsides, too.
Like?
What about job displacement as AI automates more and more tasks?
Right.
Or algorithmic bias, where AI systems just perpetuate existing inequalities.
Right, and these aren't just hypothetical concerns.
No.
These are real issues. We need to be talking about them now.
Right now.
It's like the classic, with great power comes great responsibility, right? We're giving these machines more and more power.
So we need to be very careful about how we design and use them.
And that responsibility, that doesn't just rest with the companies developing the tech.
It's on all of us, really.
We need to be having open and honest conversations about these implications.
Right. Demand transparency from these companies. Hold them accountable.
So it's not enough to just focus on the cool stuff.
No.
We have to think about the potential negative consequences, too, and figure out how to prevent them.
Absolutely. We need to think about the human element as much as the technological one. I mean, what kind of future do we want to build with this technology? How do we make sure that AI benefits everyone, not just a select few?
So, while we've been looking at these 4 specific AI chip stocks that the Motley Fool is recommending, it feels like the real takeaway here is so much bigger than, just investment advice.
It is.
It's about really understanding the forces that are shaping our future and, being active participants in shaping how AI is developed and used.
Well said. I think that's a perfect way to put it. This deep dive, it's a starting point, right, for understanding these companies and how we fit into this AI boom. But the real journey, I think, that's just beginning.
I agree. Go out there, learn more about AI, ask those critical questions, engage in these conversations. These are the conversations that are shaping the future.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI chips. Remember, the future of AI, it's not set in stone. It's up to all of us to shape it responsibly.